Usually when I finished a body on something, I kind of feel like I'm a bit over halfway. This time when I finished the body, I feel like I've done like 25% of the project. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current projects, finished projects, planned projects, the yarn I have, the yarn I want to get, the yarn I recently added to my stash, just anything that falls into my head while I sit here and chat with you all. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. But before we get into everything I've been doing the last week, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. And today I'm actually wearing double up with knitwear. I am desperately trying to squeeze a little bit more use out of my summer tops before winter really takes them away from me. And the perfect way of doing that is to layer them up. I think I'll start by showing off what's underneath. Here you can see kind of the top of it. Here is the full thing, and that is the Always Canisole by Garnogslikt. It is a summer top I made this summer, and I think it's the first summer top I've made where I've actually been 100% happy with the results. I've made a lot of summer tops that I really enjoyed, and I think they're pretty and I enjoyed working them up. And it's not that they turned out bad, I just can't really figure out how to incorporate them in my life. But this year I actually started to make summer garments that I could actually wear, so that was really revolutionary, and I think this was the first one. So this is a bit special to me just because of that, and I really love it. I have always thought that I liked my summer tops a bit more like the straps to be a bit thinner and the neckline to not be as high, and I think that might be the case as like a main rule, but I really enjoy how this looks and how it feels when I'm wearing it, how it is to put on. I love that it doesn't have a front or back side, because I don't want to spend a lot of time like turning my sweaters or camisoles this way and that to see kind of what's the front and what's the back. And with this one I can just throw it on, so that's amazing. And I also really like the color. I have loved layering it up. Now I'm wearing it under a sweater. I've also been wearing it over a lot of sweaters like earlier in the summer when it was a bit warmer, so it is great for layering. And it's also made in drops cotton merino, which means that it has a bit of merino in it. It's 50% cotton, 50% merino, and it's also a DK weight yarn, so it is a fair bit warmer also than all of the other summer garments I've made years before. So I'm just really happy with this, and I'm so happy I chose this pattern to make for my cousin for her christening, because if not I would have never made it for myself. So that was just a really lucky coincidence, and this has turned into, I almost wanted to say my most worn summer garment, but that's my blouses number ones, all three of those, but it's definitely my most worn camisole. And I think this is also the camisole I'll be able to wear for most of the year, because it's just great for layering. But that's it for the camisole. And then of course I'm wearing my most used sweater, the sweater number 14. It's basic, but that's why it works. It's in a basic color, it's just super comfortable, oversized, great fit. I just want to live in this, and I honestly do. This is my lounge around at home sweater. It is my favorite when I'm layering knits, because I can still like show off a good amount of the knit underneath, just because the v-neck of this is so big. And the v-neck is also very like, I can wear it like that, I can wear it like that. It's very adjustable, so I just love this sweater. And I also changed the yarn I used for my sweater number 14. I didn't want any mohair in it because I wanted it to be a lounge around sweater. I wanted it to be comfortable. So this is Drops Baby Merino with Drops Puna. So superwash merino and 100% alpaca, and it is so soft. It doesn't itch at all, and it's also a lot heavier than the original sweater would be because that's knit with 2 strands of mohair, which is lighter than 1 strand of Drops Puna. But that kind of makes it feel like the sweater is giving me a hug, which I really enjoy. It's just like wearing a weighted blanket, which is just so comforting. And I'm definitely in the market for more sweaters like this. I have been thinking about making like an exact replica just in another color, or the version of this sweater that is the O-neck version, or just any like oversized sweater, V-neck or not. I love it and I want more of it, and I kind of want another sweater just so this one can have a bit of a break, because I want it to last me for as long as possible, and I'm wearing this a lot now. This sweater is also great because it is super warm because of the alpaca. Alpaca is a really warm yarn, but it's also big and baggy enough, and the V-neck is so big and the sleeves are so big that it is really breathable. So even in the summer, this is one of my most worn knits. Of course, not in the middle of the day peak warmth, which we don't get a lot here anyways, but immediately if I'm feeling a bit of a chill, I'm seeking this out. Where is my grey sweater? I'm throwing it on. It is my most worn sweater. I have a lot of sweaters I think are really pretty or intricate and that I love and that are maybe my favorite makes, but when it comes to the sweater I wear the most, this one wins 10 out of 10 times. It's just so easy to wear, and it's also a perfect color because if I get messy playing around with my toddler, this kind of camouflages it a bit better than some of my other favorites that are quite white, like the Moby sweater and the porcelain. So this just is amazing for everyday life, and it's just super practical. That's enough of me babbling on about what I'm wearing, and we'll get into what I've actually been doing this week. And I think to start off, we'll just get my abandoned whips out of the way, because I have a few abandoned whips this week. My goal is to never have abandoned whips, but ever since I started working on the wedding dress, I've had kind of consistently a kind of abandoned whip, and unfortunately it has been abandoned this week as well. I am thinking about it and I want to work on it. I just can't really get in the mind space I kind of need to be in to really work on it properly when I have so many other projects on my needles that I'm also thinking about. So instead of forcing myself to work on it and then making decisions I'm going to regret in the future, I am just putting this kind of on a hold. I have been working this week on kind of clearing my needles a bit, because even though casting on is fun, I do need to work a little bit on my wedding dress, and then I need clearer needles, but I'm getting there. Hopefully I'm going to get there even more this week, because I really want to get going. I don't think my main goal this week is going to be knitting, because the knitting part I kind of have down. I know how to knit, I know what I want to knit pretty much, and I've gotten a good chunk of the way there. But all of the other details, the pearls, the belt, I really want to get the belt done this week. I need to go to the yarn store and just get all of the things I need and finish the belt so I can actually try it on. I want to start to do a bit of the pearl placements just to see, so I know I can go back and forth and see what I really like. I more so want to do all of those things than the knitting part. The knitting part is the most fun to me, of course, but it's not where I need to put my focus, so that's not really the goal this week, but I want to at least do something on the wedding dress, hopefully this week when my needles and everything on them comes down a bit. But what I have done this week is that I've done a lot of thinking, because the one thing about the wedding dress that is still kind of up in the air is sleeves. Right now this is the top of the wedding dress. This desperately needs some kind of like steaming or ironing or something. That's also something I want to figure out really soon, just to see kind of what it looks like after it's been treated a bit with steaming or something. But this is what I have for the top, and since the wedding is in February, this is going to be a bit cold. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with sleeves. Do I want to pick up from here and do sleeves in the same yarn? Do I want to do it with mohair and still pick up? Do I want to do detachable sleeves? How much volume are the sleeves going to have? And I've been thinking about this ever since I made the wedding dress, and I haven't really gotten anywhere. But then this week, maybe last week, but I really started to think about it this week. I saw what are they called? The mist sleeves by also Garnogslikt, the same designer as made this top. She has made a sweater called the mist sweater, and now she's also made sleeves. They are attached around the neck, but then they're just sleeves and not a sweater. And I'm going to put in a picture because I'm bad at explaining, but I think that would be perfect for the wedding dress, because that would be like here, and then we would have the sleeves with the like perfect amount of volume. I think they're perfect. They're really close to what I've been envisioning. I've just not known how to get there. And then they would be detachable, which I think is a big plus, because I could wear them when it's cold, and if it gets hot I can remove them. And it would also end like right about where the dress starts. So I just think that's great. And I could also make it, the mist sleeves are made with 2 strands of mohair, I'm pretty sure, so I could make it with the same mohair that I'm using for the mohair skirt I'm making. I'm not going to put it up here because it's so big and I don't want to disrupt everything else, but I could use the same mohair, and then that would kind of tie the whole thing together. So that's kind of the thing I've been doing this week. That's the only, but I really believe in mist sleeves. I think that's what I'm going to do, and it will honestly be nice to make something by another designer and just turn off my brain for part of this project as well. And then I still think I'm going to do a shawl. I still really want the Augustine's number 30, but I'm going to focus on the dress and then the sleeves, and then see what time I have left, and then maybe do the shawl. And I also think these sleeves will go well with the shawl, because I was afraid if it was too much volume in the sleeves that I couldn't do a shawl. But I think it's all going to work together now, so I'm really pleased with having found that, and the designer having made that. They're so beautiful. So yeah, that's really what I've done on the wedding dress this week. Just browsed Instagram, and then I have another abandoned whip, and this is abandoned because I still don't have the yarn. The Harald sweater, I have run out of air. Still haven't gotten new air, so can't continue to work on this, but I have bought air through my friend. Her local yarn shop had 20% off all their yarn, and that yarn store carries a lot of drops, so I went a bit crazy, bought a lot of yarn. It was very tempting, but I have gotten the yarn for this now. I just need to actually get it, so this is almost done, but it definitely won't be done in time, because I was supposed to finish this and then my fiance would give it to her next week when they meet up, but that won't happen. I think instead she will bring all the yarn she got from me, and then she will give the yarn to him, and then I'll find another time to give her these sweaters. I think that's going to be okay. These sweaters, both the Harald sweater and the 2 Sunday sweaters I've made, both the Sunday sweater for her and the Sunday sweater junior, all of them are really warm, they're really chunky, they're really big, so it can definitely wait a while longer before they are like in their peak season. But it is a bit like annoying that I didn't get to finish it when I had planned to. But those are my 2 abandoned whips this week, and then I have the projects that are more fun to talk about because there's actually something to talk about. And I think we'll start with my like main one, the one I love the most, the one that's always on my mind, and that is the Levitate wrap. I am obsessed. It is unfortunately a bit hard to show it right now because I think this morning, maybe last night, finished the body, which is also of course hard to show now, but I have finished the body, or like the regular stockinette part of the body. I still have a ton of double knitting to do. I am double knitting around like the opening of the wrap, and then at the like end here, and also the like wrap tie thing is double knitting. So the next week for me will be all about double knitting, I think, on this project. So I am kind of looking forward to it, kind of really nervous, but this week has been a lot of fun. I've gotten to work on this. I am obsessed, and I already can tell that this will be exactly the type of thing like the sweater number 14 is. There's something about Myfavouritethings.knitwear. Her patterns, I love them. They're so perfect to lounge around in, and this has more hair. I decided to brave it this time, but the Drop Stacey, I'm using Drop Stacey and Drops Silk, Kid Silk, if I didn't say, but the Drop Stacey is so soft that it kind of cancels out the mohair, and yeah, it's super soft. The color is everything, and I haven't been able to try it on 100% because of all of the needles, but I can already tell that the fit is also going to be great. And there is something about V-necks that's just really comforting and comfortable to wear, and this is also going to be that, just a wrap version of a V-neck, and it's like the perfect amount of oversized, the perfect, just everything. So I can already tell that this is going to be a staple. It is in a bit of a brighter color than my sweater number 14 though, so I'm excited to see how kind of that affects how much I get to wear it. But since last week I have finished, I'm going to try to show you, it's a bit hard, but I've finished doing all of these increases here, if you can see them. That's like what makes it the wrap. All of these increases, finish that, and right at the end you also do a couple of decreases right under the sleeve, I think to make it fit better around your waist or something when you do the double knitting, not quite sure. And that finished the body, and the last thing I've done just right now is to pick up stitches, and I'm kind of afraid for the double knitting because just the picking up of stitches took so long. I was surprised with how long it took. It just went on and on and on and on, and I don't have that much experience with double knitting, so I think I'm going to go I have done it a bit, so I'm not like a total beginner, but I think I'm going to learn a lot from this project since you have to do so much double knitting. And I also am a bit nervous because the last time I did double knitting was on the pole cardigan, and I really struggled with that because for double knitting it is so important to get the right gauge when you kind of knit the double knitting into your knitting, because if not it will flare or it will just not look good, and that was my problem with the pole cardigan, so I had to unravel a lot when doing the pole cardigan. So hopefully I learned from that, but it definitely makes me nervous going into this. But I have learned, and it's better to frog than to end up with something that you're not happy with. I just have to have that mindset going into this, and it will take as much time as it takes. But hopefully I'll be able to just hit gauge and then slowly work on this stitch by stitch, and then after the double knitting all around here you have to do double knitting on the body, I think, and then the tie thing, and then the sleeves. So usually when I finished a body on something I kind of feel like I'm a bit over halfway. This time when I finished the body I feel like I've done like 25% of the project, so I'm excited to see how much I'll be able to get in this next week with all of the other projects I want to work on as well. But I just love the Levitate wrap, so this is definitely going to sneak its way in and get quite a few of my knitting hours, because it's just perfect and I really want to wear this while it's fall. It's just perfect for fall, so this needs to get done while it's still fall. And then my other active whip is maybe what I've knit the most on, because this is a project that while it's fun to knit on, if I get this off my needles I'll be able to think a bit more clearly about wedding dress, about anything else. This is just a project that I want to kind of finish, also because I really need this, because we need it, because we need to use it, and that is the chunky rib pants. And I am kind of regretting making two pants right after each other. It was fun while I was casting them on, but knitting like miles and miles of legs, not my best idea, and I don't know why, because in later years I don't really have that much against sleeves. I think sleeve knitting is fine. Of course I prefer knitting in the round, just regular, because I prefer circulars over DPNs, but I've grown to quite enjoy knitting sleeves, but knitting legs I don't like. I think it might be because they're just too few stitches, and it makes the DPNs a bit more like finicky, I don't know. But this leg felt so long, and it's not that much longer than the Willums I made, but it felt so long. And this is, I was at the point where I was about to separate for legs last week, so I've done this whole thing, which it felt like it took me about a year of my life to do, but I think I did it in like 2 evenings. And I love these pants. They're great. They're super stretchy. They're comfortable to wear. They're easy to take off and on. My one thing about them that I don't like is that instead of I love when patterns tell you to like decrease every 10 rows or every so and so rows. I love that, but this pattern tells you to decrease every like 4 centimeters or 2 centimeters, and I don't like that. I don't want to measure anything. I want to count. I don't want to measure. So what I do is that I measure the first time and then I count, but just knowing that you're supposed to do it from centimeters just annoys me. I think that's a me issue, but it still just really annoys me to have to count instead, to have to measure instead of just count. I want to be told to decrease every so and so many rows instead of centimeters, but that the pants are worth it. That's just like my silly little complaint, and to have that as my only complaint is quite good. I stopped knitting on these yesterday because I ran out of the skein, and I took that as an excuse to be able to work more on my Levitate wrap. But they're so long I have to hold them all the way back here, but they are really close to being done. I think I should be able to finish it with just one more skein. Maybe I'll have to tap a bit into another as well, but they're close to being done. I am a bit worried about all of the ends I'm going to weave in because it's knit in superwash yarn, but weaving in ends in ribbing is better than weaving in ends on stockinette in my opinion, so it's not going to be that bad. And I also love this color. I think it's going to be great and practical to use. It won't show messes too well, but it's still light enough that you definitely can see the structure. So I'm excited about these, and these are also in the size 4 to 5 years. And I think I knit a bit of extra length. I was also really very dumb with knitting legs, so I don't know if I knit a lot of extra length, but I tried to knit a bit of extra length, so hopefully this will last for long, because they last a lot, like in this direction. And you also knit them longer, so when you start using them you kind of roll up the leg and then you roll it down as you go, so it can last for even longer. So this year we'll have 2 pants because of this and the Willums, and then next year and maybe even the year after that we'll have these, so I don't have to knit pants for a while. That was my goal with making these 2 pants this year, but I have to say that it was maybe not my best idea, because I was really motivated making the first pair and then there were just too many legs to knit. So next time I'd definitely try to space it out a bit. Even if I did them both in the same year, I'd try to at least have a couple of projects in between them. If I didn't mention what yarn this is Merino Extra Fine in a color I can't remember, but some light blue color. And that is it for my whips. But this week I also have finished a couple of projects, and I have to say I'm so proud of myself this week, because not only have I finished the project, not only have I woven in all of the ends on both of these projects, but I've also done all of the finishing touches. I've sewn in buttons, I've done the zipper, I've done the ends. They're all done, they're completely done. Still haven't washed them, we won't talk about that, but they're all done and I'm so proud of myself. I have been really working on getting better, like, what's it called? Habits when it comes to actually finishing my knits. And I'm not going to say that the first thing I did when I finished these were to weave in the ends, but I really wanted to come here today and say that I had woven in the ends and completely finished them, and that was kind of the little push I needed to weave in all the ends, finish them 100%. So I am getting there. The habits are getting a bit better. I'm not adding anything to my basket of shame, and it feels amazing. But that being said, we can get into the actual pieces, and first off is the zipper sweater. I don't know how well you can see this because the yarn is quite dark, but this is the zipper sweater light junior, which is quite big. This is the size, I think I made a size 5 to 6 years just because I don't love sewing in zippers, so I'm going to make it in big enough sizes that they last. So I think I went for 5 to 6 years, but as I knit I noticed that the Peer Gynt yarn that I used, that I bought on the Sandnes Garn outlet, is a lot thinner than the actual Peer Gynt. So I don't know if this ended up being size 5 to 6, it might be a bit smaller. When I measured this, how much it weighs, it weighed, I think this weighed 275 grams, with the zipper, and for how much yarn you need for this size, I think you need 400 grams, so it is about 100 grams or a bit more than 100 grams lighter than it's supposed to be, so the yarn is definitely a lot thinner, but I know it's still big enough that my son will get a lot of wear out of it before it grows out of it, even though it might not be the size 5 to 6 years old. Also, this color needs a block because the ribbing is really tight before you wash it the first time. But yeah, I'm happy with this, and I also think it being a bit thinner will make it a better layering piece if we want to wear this underneath a jacket, which is probably the case because the zipper sweaters are that warm that we don't really use them if we're not also using some sort of jacket with it. So I think it worked out in my favor. I can't be really certain. I need to wash this and see what happens, if the fiber blooms a bit, and also probably measure the size of this just to accurately see what size it ended up being. I knit all of the lengths, the length of the sleeves and the length of the body, according to the 5 to 6 year size. But the width might be a bit, just a tiny bit smaller just because of the yarn being thinner. But I'm really happy with this, and also we have to take a moment for the zipper and how perfectly the color matches, and also how well it looks even before blocking and how well it zips. I don't like doing zippers, but I'm always proud of myself for having done them, and it doesn't look that bad. For just when I do zippers, I just try to do them as fast as possible and forget about it afterwards. But yeah, I'm really happy with this, and this will not be my last zipper sweater this fall. I am going to make myself one probably in September. I really want to make mine in September, and I'm really looking forward to it, but I'm also a bit nervous for the zipper, but I know that I'm going to be fine because every time I've done it I've been fine, but I just don't like it being in my future. I would rather be done with it. But that is the first thing I finished this week, and then the next thing I finished was the Willums, and they are so long because they have like the overalls part as well. I don't know, can you see how long this is? It's insane. I can't even fathom that I'm making so long pants for my son. And look, I even sewn in buttons and they're so cute. I don't know if you can see, wait. Can you see? They're really cute. I'm just happy I found 2 matching buttons. I'm starting to run out of my buttons because I'm really bad at keeping track. And another thing I'm really happy about with this is that I went googling and looking around on YouTube, and look how well this turned out. I've never been happy with this part before, and now it looks seamless. I'm so happy. So yeah, these projects and the finishing of this project is just been great, and I also think it's a good lesson for me to learn how well it feels to just finish something completely. Maybe that will help me in the future to get better at it. But these are the Willums. They're size 3 to 4 years old, so they're going to fit kind of perfectly this year. Yeah, they're long, they're great. They're a bit harder to get on and off, but I really like the overall part because then you won't have any bare skin out and about, which is great when it's really cold. And yeah, they've just been my favorite all along ever since we had the smallest size. These were also the first knit pants that my son ever wore, not these ones, but the Willums pants, the Willums overalls. So they just hold a special place in my heart. I have started making a modification, not recently, but the last few Willums I've made have been like this. I don't know if you can see, but instead of doing what Petiteknit asks you to do in the pattern, when I've done the last of the decreases for this bib part, I do Italian bind off. I like that better than what is suggested in the pattern. I think it is a cleaner look, and it also allows the bib to stretch a lot better and to grow with the child a lot better. So if that is what I do, you can try it yourself. I really prefer it. And while Italian bind off is a bit more work than just regular bind off, I think for this pants it's less work to do the Italian bind off than to do what it says in the pattern, because then you're supposed to cast off some stitches, I think, and then knit a bit, and then you have to sew down that bit that you knit, and it's just a lot more work, and I don't think it really makes a difference to do it that way. So I've chosen to do what is the least amount of work for me. So that's what I do. These are the Willums. I used Merino Extra Fine for this as well. I really love Merino Extra Fine for pants, especially for toddlers. I think it's great. It doesn't really pill in my experience, and it's superwash, so it's easy to clean, and it's also quite sturdy when you're like crawling around. I haven't really experienced it like getting holes or anything from crawling, so Merino Extra Fine is my go-to when it comes to pants. But those were also my 2 finished projects this week. I am quite happy. I did get to eliminate a bit of yarn from my stash. Of course, not as much as I got. I got a fair bit of yarn through my friend, but it was so hard to resist, and the discounted yarn came exactly the same day that I was trying to plan my fall knits, and I was already like looking at so many patterns and making myself a wish list, and then also having to look at discounted yarn at the same time. I was just very tempted, and I decided to get some, but all of the yarn I got has a plan, a really specific plan, and I'm really excited about all of the yarn, so I think it's going to be great. And it's not about decreasing my stash as fast as possible, it's just about mindfully using what I have. But yeah, I've got some more yarn, I'm excited about it. I don't have it here, but when I get it, I'm going to show it and show my plans and what I'm going to do. But until then, I'm going to work on everything I have here and my current projects and all of the yarn I have with the plan. If you're interested in seeing all of my fall knitting plans, I made a video all about them. Super excited about them. It's hard to not just start on everything all at once now, but I'm trying to just slowly work on what I have and also leave space to work on the wedding dress. But that is it for what I knit this week, and then we'll weave in a few ends. Okay, I'm ready to weave in ends, but I don't know if I'm going to weave in ends. I have these socks that I started on last time, but I also thought that I should maybe just get around to actually doing buttons. I think this one needs 3 and this one only needs 1. And they're done. I've done the ends. This has even been in use. One of the buttons just fell off, and it's a bit silly that I haven't gotten around to it again. So I was thinking a little bit about that, but then again, it's also just easier to weave in ends. So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing, also because I have so many more projects that needs their ends woven in and sewing in buttons. doesn't feel like such, that's not true. But once I get started with sewing in buttons, it's much easier for me to keep going, whereas with weaving in ends, I just wanted to stop. But I am getting somewhere. Actually, I don't know if you can see a dent in my basket of shame yet, but I kind of feel like you can, because before it was overflowing, and it's still full, but it's not overflowing anymore, so that's progress. And I still have a couple of really large projects in there, so if I get to those, that's going to make a big difference. Maybe I could start weaving in the ends on the blanket today. I don't know if I could do the whole blanket today, but if I were to start, that would probably make a big difference. Now I'm weaving in the ends on Sunday socks. I'm also trying to weave in the ends on what I think we would get use out of immediately. So like gift knits that's just going to be lying around waiting. Those are not at the top of the priority list, but gift knits that I'm going to give away like as soon as possible, those are a priority. And then clothes for my son and me, or whatever is going to get used right now, I try to prioritize over what's just going to wait around. That's the first sock done. And then I think what I'm going to do, because I also have one more cardigan, if it's a cardigan, I'll just let my son use it before I've done the buttons. But I'm going to take all of the cardigans and sweaters and everything he has and I have that need buttons, and then I don't know if I can promise that I'm going to do it today, but I'm going to try to get to it today, because it doesn't take me that long. I did the buttons on the Willums today, and it probably took me less than 5 minutes. So for all of the projects, it would probably take me maybe half an hour. That seems doable. I should be able to do it today, and then he would get like a much more functional wardrobe when it comes to all of his cardigans. And yeah, he has a lot of sweaters and cardigans he doesn't really get to use a lot, because I just haven't finished them fully, so I want to do that so we can actually use them. Let's see, I think this sock also only has one more end to weave in. That's great. Then I'll show that as well. But yeah, I want to be better at doing buttons. I have gotten better at weaving in ends, but buttons are still a bit of a challenge for me. But I have found buttons for all of the projects I want to do buttons for, and separated them and kind of gotten everything ready. So a lot of the work is kind of already done. I just need to actually sit down and get to it. But yeah, I'm going to try to do that today. I don't know how well it's going to go, because it's not something I love doing, but if I just do, I feel like it would take me a lot less time. It would take me a lot less time if I just sat down and did it instead of putting it off, because when I put it off, I build it up so much in my head, like I've done with a certain pair of socks that I want to knit myself. And if it takes me a really long time to get around to something, it just makes it so hard to actually start. But now these socks are done and ready to be worn. I don't know how much more I'm going to do, because I've already woven in quite a lot of ends today, just earlier today. But this is what the basket looks like now. So as you can see, when I hold it like that, you can't see the project anymore, but it's definitely like full. But this project is really big, so if I were to get the blanket done, it would all of a sudden look a lot more empty. And then I have one more really huge project in here as well. But this isn't really representative for all of the projects because I have some other places as well. But yeah, I think I'm going to do one of the ends here just so I have started, and then I'm going to end this because yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, and I also have other things I need to get to. Oh, but weaving in ends on seed stitch was quite hard. I don't know how well this is going to go, but I'm going to try. I feel it's a lot harder to weave in ends on the structure because I never know where I should weave in the end so that it's like the most invisible. Now I'm just doing something. I don't know how well this is going to turn out, but yeah, it's a mix between making it as invisible as possible but also actually secure. That's a very hard line to walk sometimes with structure, I think. I would love to hear if you have any tips for weaving in ends on structured things, but yeah, that was the one end I was going to do on that blanket, and now I'm going to go. I'm going to put all of the finished projects so I can wash them, and then these are coming with me so I can do buttons. But that was all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!